Our firm represents some of America's last best places, and stewards of these lands are the true conservation heroes. They have trusted our team to show their property's unique intrinsic value, monetize that value through a sale, and see to it that the next landowner will protect the legacy they've built. For 30 years, we specialized in this niche, building it into what it is today. We've earned our reputation as trusted advisors and go beyond the role of a traditional land broker. One of our differences is our short film series that celebrates the land steward and tells the land story. It all started here in 1843. Much of the nation was still a wilderness. The first wagon train to Oregon had just started northwest. Meanwhile, Judge James Morton and family headed southwest, the remote piney woods of Georgia. There they laid claim to some 3,500 acres that can best be described like a biblical story of the Promised Land. You see, they had their choice of the very best land. The plain they chose was blessed with some of the most fertile soils. It abounded with flowing waters, with 1 mile of frontage on the Withlacoochee River, 3 miles on Okapilco Creek, and another mile on Piscola Creek, 3 of the most game-rich and gorgeous river corridors in the South. They prospered with the land, founded the town of Quitman, brought in the railroad, and started a bank. In 1850, they retained John Wynn, one of the best classic revival architects of all time, to build another one of his masterpieces. Imagine what it must have been like to go back and see this, to see the land in its pristine state, its waters unimpeded, its timber thick in age, and grasses flowing like the land of milk and honey. For you see, the blessing of the lands we're about to share with you in today's story is also today's reality. Whereas 95% of the once 90 million acres of wiregrass and longleaf habitat has been forever lost, here it remains intact. The pine timber is prolific in creating wealth. Its upland hardwood forest is nothing short of park-like. This is a story on how modern management turned this one-of-a-kind property into a sportsman's paradise, with more wild game, beauty, and wealth than even the founding fathers could imagine. Today, we're going to share with you one of America's greatest conservation stories. It is with great honor that I welcome you to Magnolia Hall. One of the most rewarding parts of this career is being able to work with people who share a passion for land, those like Virgil Williams. As one of modern Georgia's business leaders and philanthropists, he has a knack for doing it right and motivating people to accomplish great things. In the quail world, he is famous for how he increased the quail population at Southern Heritage and restored Magnolia Hall. 10 years ago, he asked me to find a buyer for that 7,000 acres. Eric and I completed our trademark valuation analysis, went to our Rolodex, and quickly obtained the $29 million. Meanwhile, I've been watching this property for 21 years. Its mature old timber, upland hardwoods, water, and diversity made it one of my favorites. I knew it needed a champion. Someone that knew how to not only take it to modern quail management to a whole new modern level, but restore the 1850s home as well. Thankfully, Virgil is getting a little restless and had the energy to take it on. What he accomplished here in less than 5 years is far and away one of the finest restoration accomplishments in both land and improvements ever seen in the Red Hills. He has catapulted Magnolia Hall into the rankings of one of the most game-rich, beautiful, and polished quail plantations in the South. I couldn't be more proud of what he has done here.
In fact, I don't give introduce. This is a special treat you're getting here. Well, first of all, I'm from a hunting family, and I guess my dad taught me from early age about the outdoors. And so when I got the opportunity and the money, I decided to do it. And actually, before I got the money, the first plantation I hunted on, and I didn't own it, but I leased it, and that was in north of Albany. And then since then, this is my 5th that I've owned or leased, that one, and the rest of them I owned. Well, you know, this was needed a lot of work when you first showed me the property, and I guess that was a challenge to me because I had spent 28 years at Southern Heritage developing it and improving it, and enjoyed that, every bit of it, and got the covey count per hour up from a little over 2 3/4 to be exact, to 7.5 in the 28 years. So I enjoy, you know, improving the land, but also significantly making the wildlife habitat better and more of it. And that's, I guess, the driver as much as anything. Well, I could see the potential because of the longleaf pine and the large pines. I probably started a little late in life with a new project and a major project. And you know, I hope they say later that I kept the principles of the architecture and the property and just enhanced it more than it's ever been enhanced, for that matter.
I asked Virgil, of all the great properties he's been involved with, what makes this one so special?
If you asked my wife, she would have told you the live oaks. That's a unique feature that we've always had a few live oaks on the property, but nothing like these groves of live oaks we had here. And she was probably one of the major reasons we bought this property, is the fact that she loved this home setting here and these live oaks around the home, and then the live oaks throughout the property. And there's some very mature, several hundred-year-old live oaks here. And this will be unique, I'm not sure this was a question, but the very first time when John was showing me the property, I wanted to show it to her. Well, this house wasn't livable, and none of the other houses on the property were livable, so there's no place to come down here and stay. And we pulled an RV between here and the first big live oak and stayed overnight in an RV, and that's where she wanted to put it, next to the live oak. So that's probably the prominent feature. A lot of other reasons, the big pines, to be honest with you, the creeks, you know, that wasn't her thing, but the creeks are important to me, in the wetlands. The large pines are really, you know, I'm intrigued by the large pines, but I'd say that was pretty much some of the attractions. And I don't want to miss it. Really, it's not something I want to do, but you know, as I get older and under the circumstances with my children, and they get their lives and get busy, and we don't have the family component to it like we've had over the years. And we raised our children on Southern heritage for all practical purposes. Really enjoyed that probably more than anything, but now that I'm by myself, it's just not quite the same, and the family doesn't get to join me as often. And just being here by myself is not what I was looking to do. So I really hate to give it up. And if you hadn't talked me into it, I probably wouldn't have. No, you really didn't. I'm just teasing you. But I came back to you, John, because I think that was the right thing to do, and we had the working relationship, and you're the one that showed me the property and gave me the inspiration and the vision for doing what I've done.
Well, Magnolia Hall is a really unique property. It's got a lot of diversity, and it's not one of the properties that you just look at and every square inch is quail habitat. But I think that in the new era of quail management and of the landowners that are purchasing these properties, a lot of times they're looking for that diversity when it comes to, you know, outdoor recreation. And so, you know, one of the things that is unique about Magnolia Hall is that you can go out in the morning and find several coveys of wild quail, and then you can go on a deer hunt in the evening. But when it comes to the quail population specifically on Magnolia Hall, you know, we've seen incredible increases, you know, since 2018 when we started working with them in terms of population density. I mean, we're standing here in Herbert Stoddard's office on the grounds of the Tall Timbers Research Station. And, you know, we've done a lot of great work here, from, you know, obviously Bob White research to you know, ground doves and fire. You know, but one of the things that I'm passionate about is Bob White quail. And through all the research that's been done here at Tall Timbers, from Stoddard through, you know, some of our current biologists, you know, the reality is this boils down to three things when it comes to managing for quail. And that's appropriate use of prescribed fire, implementing supplemental feeding, and then maintaining an appropriate predator balance within our property to maximize our quail populations.
Well, we did a translocation program from Tall Timbers in conjunction with Tall Timbers. the population of the wild quail was not what I expected. And the deal was that, they would translocate the birds, wild birds they trapped from other plantations for 3 years. I had to agree to feed them, on the ground, which is part of the translocation program, and also to trap predators. And so that was a part of really a contract and an agreement. And so we've done that for 3 years. And so this year is actually the first year I've shot a single bird.
We know that if it's done correctly, that it's almost a 100% success rate. And so, again, it requires a dedicated landowner that has a desire to continue to manage for these birds once they're on the property. They're not going to just take care of themselves, but when it's applied appropriately, it's extremely successful. You can have that response without translocation if you're in a landscape that's conducive to quail, but when we see that effect in association with translocation, we've seen as much as 200% increase in our quail population with combination of habitat improvements and translocation.
Well, my expectations or desire would get to be what they were at Southern Heritage, which is 7.5 coveys per hour on average for a whole season. And like I say, that started a little over 3.5 coveys, and so every year we improved it. Had some flat spots, but primarily improved it year after year.
One of the things that we always preach when it comes to quail management is when we're managing for quail, we're managing for a host of other species. One of the things that kind of makes Magnolia Hall unique is the native ground cover that is across the property in association with some of the old field. And so with that different habitat type in association with the quail management, we have a very impressive gopher tortoise population on the property, and it's something that's obviously a drawing point to that property.
It's been said that the bobwhite quail is the prince of game birds. But in 2023, one could argue that the trophy whitetail buck is the king. The best deer properties are also selling for a king's ransom. Most people will be surprised to learn that we're consistently closing trophy deer properties in the $5,000 an acre range, which is in line with the dirt and timber value that a good wild quail property commands. When it comes to harvesting a Boone and Crockett record book buck, it literally doesn't get any better than Worth and Brooks counties. They are by far the number 1 and 2 most prolific trophy counties in the entire South. One of the secrets here lies along the Okapilco Creek, which starts in Worth County, flows through Brooks, and then winds 3 miles through Magnolia Hall, where it meets both the Piscola Creek and the Withlacoochee River itself. Why it matters today is that in the 40s and 50s, deer were extinct here. So in the 1960s, the state of Georgia released 10 deer less than 3 miles from here, and the Worth County Sportsman's Club released 22, both of prime Babcock, Wisconsin genetics. There were no local deer along the entire Okapilco drainage to dilute these exceptional genes. Being able to own a property where one can consistently raise deer in the 150s, 160s, and into the 170 record book class is truly something special. For only $35 a head for the deer, to today's $5,000 per acre land, these trips to Babcock, Wisconsin were one of the best buys in the history of wildlife management. We hope you've enjoyed this inside look at Magnolia Hall. Our short films go well above and beyond the role of a land broker, but sharing the story of this property and what generation of landowners have accomplished here is worth that effort. We're not your typical broker, we are advisors to this niche with a fervent work ethic and here to help you too with your land needs. We have the benefit of early in our career being mentored by some of the titans of the financial world. They shared with us their secrets of investing and improving recreational land, which when fast forwarded to today and applied to our Rolodex experience and passion is the key to our difference. We share this knowledge every day, which has led us to closing an average of $500,000 a day, 7 days a week, with some properties now with an unheard of 4 and even 5 times in our career. Specializing matters, and by dedicating our career to serving others, we're only one call away from helping you too.